All right, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live and living color here with you on YouTube. It's good to be back. It's been a long 2 week hiatus and full of all sorts of bad stuff. The reason I actually, you would think, oh, wouldn't you be doing more shows considering what's going on in the world right now? And you would think, yeah, but I actually had an awful situation where, uh, a couple weeks ago, I woke up one morning with like a mild stomach ache, and I was like, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was a regular stomach ache or whatever. The pain intensified that entire day. The pain intensified like greatly. And the next thing I knew, I was in the hospital for an appendicitis case. And I was in some brutal goddamn pain. So that was really the reason why I haven't done a show in the past 2 weeks. I was on crazy medication. I thought I was really lucky. They thankfully didn't have to take my appendix out, but it was one of those situations where I got really like fucked up. Like I was in bad shape. Like horrendous pain, couldn't sleep. They put me on a liquid diet because of the meds. And I just felt like shit for about an entire week. Last week I felt a little bit better, and then this week I feel a lot better. So, it's gradually coming along and stuff like that. Ryan Snyder's in the hazy. What's up, good brother? And Ty Junebug's here. Should have chugged Pepto Bismol. Dude, I was in bad shape. It is a miracle in disguise that I didn't have to get my fucking appendix cut out of me. But I thank the Lord. I thank the doctors. I thank God that I didn't get fucking coronavirus while I went to the hospital, because what a horrible time to go to the hospital. And I've just been watching so much stuff, man. I've been just doing like double feature nights, like every night. Watching, I did a Cronenberg double feature. I did a Robin Williams double feature. I did a Nightmare on Elm Street double feature. And I've just been watching so much stuff just because, there's really nothing else to do. And, the reason I was like, you know what, let me do a show, but I wanted to shake things up a little bit. And I want to touch on five movies that really, at a time in the mid 2000s, changed the horror genre, I think, for the better. And they're movies that really they went back to the old school formula while adding some new stuff along the way. And I really love these movies. And I figured, why not come on here, throw Grande's Graveyard up, and recommend and rank the fabulous French five horror films of the mid 2000s. A lot of people call the movement the French extremity movement, and that's cool. I dig that title. That's fine. But like, there's something about the French Five that I always really liked. I thought that was a really cool, like, just name for these movies. And I have three of them here. I also own Them, which I don't know where it is. I searched day and night for that DVD. I don't know where it is. It's on Amazon Prime streaming for free. So that's how I rewatched it. I've rewatched all of these. And these are the three I own. Martyrs, I think Martyrs goes for a little bit of money. So that's the reason I haven't touched on Martyrs, or bought Martyrs, I should say. I know that the Blu-ray is I think the Region 1 Blu-ray is out of print, I believe. And that's a damn shame, because I'd like to add that one to the collection. But until that one's out of print, or they re-release it or something like that, or lower the price a little bit, I will hold off on Martyrs. I watched it, but I don't own it, so it's kind of stinks. But yeah, man, I just wanted to get a little bit into like what these movies did for the genre before I get into each respective one on its own. And I just like, there's something about. Oh, Ty says he first read his French fries. I ranked the top five French fry places. That would be a fun episode of the Graveyard. Um, but yeah, like, I can tell personally my story with how I got into these French movies, and it started right here with this movie, High Tension. Back in 2003 is when this was made, but it didn't come out in the States until about 2005. And I was at the ripe old age of about 10 years old when I went to a video store and I saw this DVD on the shelf, and I was just absolutely like, I have to see this movie. This looks fucking crazy. Badass chick with a freaking blade saw on this, and unrated, a lot of gore. Read the back of the DVD, and I was just like, I got to see this. So at the ripe old age of 10 years old, I watched High Tension and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I loved everything this movie had to bring to the table. I will give a full on review of this after I get into why I got into these movies, kind of thing. But this was really the launch pad for me. And I said, why don't we get movies like this in America? That's the thing. Like, I feel like we don't get movies like High Tension anymore. Like, they're very few and far between, in my humble opinion. And that's a damn shame because High Tension is a great film. And through this movie, through High Tension, then I watched Irreversible, directed by Gaspar Noé. And that's another one I don't own, I'm ashamed to say. I definitely need to catch up on my French collection. I have a decent amount, but definitely not like I have Eyes Without a Face. I have these movies. Like, I definitely need to catch up on my French collection, but you know what? That's all the time in the world to do that. And once I watched Gaspar Noé's Irreversible, I was like, yo, this is like what it's all about. This is why I love horror movies. And Irreversible is one of those movies that I just think is absolutely perfect. It's kind of a rape revenge film if you haven't seen it, and it has a lot of things to say about humanity and the horrors of people. And I thought that was a great film, and that's really why those two movies, High Tension and Irreversible, are the reason I decided to get into the French Five. I was like, let me see what else these people have. And then I remember buying this movie, Inside. I got this is the Dimension Extreme release, and I will get into the full review of this as well. But this movie, like, in my humble opinion, this is a movie that the closest any movie has come to recapturing the atmosphere and feel of the original John Carpenter Halloween is this movie right here. I don't know how they did it. Like, the tension scenes and the build is so goddamn good to this film, man. It absolutely every single time does not fail to make my skin crawl and give me goosebumps. And again, I'm going to get into all these movies in depth, but this was the movie where when I watched this, when I finished this movie, I said, that's what horror is all about. And we need more movies like this in America. And for some sad reason, there's not. And for some stupid reason, these two directors were not picked to remake John Carpenter's Halloween. Instead, Rob Zombie was selected. And I will forever say that these two should have got the job. This movie earned them the job to remake that movie because the atmosphere, tension, and feel of this movie is fucking unreal. And I will forever herald Inside as one of my favorite horror movies. I love Inside. And then I got into some After Dark Horror Fest. Of course, Frontiers. This was from the first After Dark Horror Fest. I watched Martyrs after that, which is a hell of an experience. I'm going to get into it, of course. And then I finished off with Them. Them was the last one I watched. So I'm going to get into these. I'm going to rank the French Five, if you will. I got a couple comments here before I love the beanie. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm rocking the tee too, man. I figured bringing the graveyard back. Why the hell not? I'm just gonna rock my Dawn of the Dead gear. One thing I always liked about this movie is the French girls. French girls are definitely with some of the hottest. Dude, I totally agree with you, man. There's something about French women. I don't know if everybody would agree here. I love Latino women. I think Latino women are fucking gorgeous, man. Like, I'm a big ass man. If you can't, I'm the one Billy Gunn. I'm an ass man. I love me some fat ass. I'm a big ass guy. Oh man, we here. Hell yeah, brother, we're here. I think the problem with Hollywood is that directors aren't directors anymore. Instead, we have product pro directors, aka producer directors. Yeah, that's the problem, man. Studios dabble into these movies too much. And you know what's fucking crazy to me is I didn't know this till fucking recently. This movie has an American remake. Didn't know about it. And also, Martyrs has a friend that I knew how to remake an American remake, and it was made for about a budget of $5 and a ham sandwich. But I had no fucking clue that they remade this movie in America, and I've yet to see it. But I would be very interested to see like what they did. Like, did they? I guarantee that the gore is probably toned down, and it's probably just not half as good. But I don't know. I just personally was like, man, like I don't. I just can't believe that they would remake Inside. Pisses me off. French Kissing the Pillberries, those boy. Yo, why not? What are these guys? Do you think could direct a Friday 13th film? No, actually, I will be honest with you. And I think when it comes to Friday 13th film, you don't need a great filmmaker. You really don't. You need somebody who gets culture. You need a guy like a Joe Zito who came in and said, I get the culture. I get teenagers, and I'm going to make them feel real. I'm going to have some boobs, blood, and mayhem. That's all you need as a formula. The movie right here, this movie proves that. Michael A. Simpson is not a great filmmaker, but he understood the culture. He understood comedy. He understood kills. He understood the psychology of a slasher film. And that's what I think you need for a Friday 13th director. Danny Steinman, the guy who was in porn, the guy who made Savage Streets. Then he makes one of my favorite Friday 13th films. So I don't think you need a director like the two that did Inside. Just because the thing with this movie is people see the gore and they go, oh, Friday 13th movie. It's the atmosphere. That's why this movie works. And the gore is great too, and the story is great, and the acting is great. But the atmosphere can't be recreated. Like I fucking would write a book on how good the fucking atmosphere and tension is in this film. So that's my humble opinion on that. The Master of Fear is here. How you doing, good brother? All right, though. We're about 11 minutes in. We're gonna start ranking these some bitches. And coming in at the number 5 slot, I might disappoint some people. I will say this. I like most of these movies, but the one that comes in at the bottom is my least favorite. It's a movie that I won't lie to you, not a big fan of. I don't hate it, but I'm not a big fan of this movie. And coming in at number 5, it's one of the 3 I have right here. Yes, it is Frontiers, directed by, I believe the filmmaker's name, Xavier Gens, who also went on to do the Hitman film in America based on the popular video game Hitman. And this was one of the 8 films to die for. Actually, I believe this was the unprecedented 9th film to die for, because technically it wasn't a part of the original 8 films to die for. And then they were like, no, this movie's badass. Like, we got to make this. And I was like, all right. So they fucking added this on to the 8 films to die for. So this is the like unofficial 8th film to die for, the 9th film to die for, if you will. And Frontiers, man, Frontiers is one of those movies that ever since the first time I saw it, I was very much let down by it. And I know a lot of people will fucking hate me for saying that, but this, like, hear me out here. This came out around the time where Hostel was made in America, and people were like, "Oh man, I want to see movies like Hostel." That very brief kind of torture era with Saw, Hostel, Turistas. You could go on forever with these kind of movies. And this one, in my opinion, my biggest problem with it is it presents itself like one of those movies, but in its core, in what it's doing, is basically like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff, in my opinion. I can't get as much into this one because it's very poorly done attempt to rip off the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It just is. It's going for that TCM3 even tone, feel. And is it well directed? Yes. I don't think the director does a poor job. My problem is, it's just, why would you present yourself as one of those Hostel movies and then try to go the route of, oh, the crazy family and stuff like that? Like, basically, I can give a little plot synopsis here. It's a group of thieves, and they pull off this heist, and then they all go down to this kind of hostel, and that is actually what they call it a hostel. And one by one, they're getting picked off, and there's this family of neo-Nazis, and there's a dinner scene, and there's, some explicit gore here and there, and, there's some decent kills, and I think a decent finale. I like the final 20 minutes of this film. But it's one of those movies to me that it fails at what it's trying to do because it doesn't really know what it wants to be. You can't present yourself as one thing and be another poorly. You can do that and nail the execution, but I think the execution here was a little bit off. It's not awful. It's not a piece of shit. It's not one of those movies where I'd go, oh man, like Frontiers is completely worthless. I think there are some awesome kills in here. There's a scene where this guy gets locked in this like pressure room, and they lock the door on him and just turn the pressure in the room up, and this guy just fucking starts burning up and swelling up, and his fucking head explodes all over the fucking place. That's an awesome death scene. Like, that's really cool stuff. you have some funny character, like there's this like the main grandfather neo-Nazi guy who's fucking just spewing out one-liners and oh see Kyle and all that shit. Like it can be funny, it can be enjoyed. I think I maybe upon rewatch I felt this way a little bit more. Maybe if people have seen this, you can tell me. Maybe they should have went more fucking goofy with this. Like maybe this would have worked if it had been more fun as opposed to I think this movie at times takes itself too seriously. Like and that is weird for me to say because like I am not one to usually say go the goof route. But I think this movie might have benefited from it. Like the first half of it, it's uber serious. And then you got neo-Nazi shit at the end and they're really playing it all seriously and that doesn't really allow me as a viewer to have as much fun with it as I could. Is this a piece of shit movie? No way. But of the French Five, of the Fab Five, if you will, this is easily the one I reach for the least because it just I don't think for number one, I don't think it has nearly as good an atmosphere as the other four films. Is it directed as well as the other films? I do think the director does a good job. I think my main problem with it is what it was trying to do as a whole. Um, it doesn't it doesn't nail the execution like I think it could. I know there are a lot of people that love this movie. I think a lot of people will tell you this is the best After Dark Horror Fest film. Um, from a direction standpoint, it is one of the best After Dark Horror Fest films. But I will say it's definitely not original. Like, watch The Grave Dancers. That's a more original film than this. Watch Autopsy. That's a more original film than this. Watch, like, there's so many of those After Dark Horror Fest films that get shit on. And are some of them cliche? Sure. But I think there are some of them that are fucking a lot of fun. And, like, I think some of them do a lot of cool original stuff. Movies like The Final, Nightmare Man. I think there are some really good After Dark Horror Fest films that maybe not have had the good direction and budget that this one did but I think they were original in their own way and brought something new to the independent horror scene. Whereas this movie was just let's remake Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a hostile setting with fucking neo Nazis and a lot of gore. And no, that's my problem with this movie. There's no heart to it. There's no fucking heart to this movie. It's just for the sake of it. And sometimes I'm with that, sometimes I'm not. This is kind of one of those times where I'm not really with it. Is it a passable film? Yes, it's a passable film. It's probably like a six or so out of 10, but I'm going to come in at about a 4 out of 10. I'm not a big fan of this film. Never was, never will be. I rewatched this last night. I still think this is the weakest of the five, and all five are very fresh in my mind. I've rewatched all five over the past week. So this one, in my humble opinion, is the weakest of the French Five. Not a horrible film, probably a 6 out of 10, but I will honestly say that this is my least favorite of the French Fab Five. So Frontiers comes in at number 5. And so we move on to number 4. Yeah, I love doing stuff like this. I love doing like ranking shows. Like it's just a lot of fun, especially to get these movies out there because not as many American horror fans are as into these movies or have seen these movies, especially like the one I'm about to talk about next because I feel like nobody has seen the next movie I'm about to talk about next. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 reviews of it on YouTube as a whole, which is a damn shame because this movie deserves to be talked about a little bit more in my opinion. And coming at number 4, it is Them from 2006. I have the IMDb page up here. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know where my copy of it is. And it is directed by David Moreau and Xavier Palou. Palou. I don't know how to pronounce. I'm not a French expert here. The original title is, of course, Ils, which is them in French. So interesting backstory about this one. And I can give Ty Junebug. Please announce Junebug Films and the Master of Fear present the first episode of Indiana Jones Radio on my channel. Awesome, man. That's going to be really cool. Tune into that. But back into Them. Them came out in 2006 and basically set the world on fire in France. Big, big hit of a home invasion film. And in America, we Americans must have somehow heard about the buzz. The studios heard about the buzz, and they said, why the hell don't we remake it? And this was, I believe, the first of all these movies to get remade. And this is the only one that got remade and had a title change. And a lot of people don't know. is this movie was remade in America as a little movie called The Strangers, which I know a lot of people are huge fans of. I know so many people that love The Strangers. They consider it like one of the best home invasion films ever. I know my good buddy Kyle, it's his favorite like horror movie ever. He loves The Strangers, and I know a lot of people that are big fans of The Strangers. And in my humble opinion, never liked The Strangers. I always thought the first Strangers completely misses the point of why home invasion is effective. I always tell people that watch the Strangers, if you think that's a good home invasion film, go watch Funny Games. If you still feel the same way, you still feel the same way. But I will even argue this, and I'm not a mark for this movie, Them. But I think Them is a much better movie than The Strangers because it does get the formula right and it does do, I think, a much better job at telling the story that is presented. Basically, Them tells the story. I can even read the plots now, so I go old school. Lucas and Clementine live peacefully in their isolated country house, but one night they wake up to strange noise. They're not alone, and a group of hooded assailants begin to terrorize them throughout the night. Yes, Them. It's a very short film, 77 minutes, and that is with credits. So it's barely feature length. I believe 75 minutes is technically feature length. So it is barely there. So right off the bat, if you want a fast-paced, quick one to watch of these five movies, that's the one. I mean, that's the quickest one of the French Five. And I think it does some good things here. First and foremost, I think the atmosphere is on point in this movie, a lot more so than a Frontiers. I think the atmosphere is there. The film opens up with this mother and daughter driving home from somewhere, and their car breaks down, and you just feel the presence of these assailants outside of the van, and slowly but surely you're like, oh shit, like something's gonna happen. And I really like the director goes a while to build the tension. It's not one of those bam, let's we're 2 minutes in and we've got a couple, no, it takes its time. Even though it's a short film, it takes its time to build that tension and get to a payoff. But I think the key thing here is it doesn't take too long to build that tension. And that's what a movie like The Strangers, I think, completely does. It waits too damn long to get to a finale that is so blah. We stabbed you in the stomach. Why did you just? Because you were home. I know people love that. I know people love the simplicity of that. But in my humble opinion, you can't build tension for an hour and 15 minutes and come to a climax of I stabbed you in the stomach just because. That's not horror done right, in my opinion. I know people disagree, and hey, different strokes for different folks. I totally respect if you disagree, but I do think that it's done better here because it's quick pace tension, quick pace suspense, and a payoff that I think is far superior than the American remake, The Strangers. And I will get into that. That is a spoiler, but that's going to be for down the road. So basically, this husband and wife, they're chilling in their house, they're, small talk and whatnot. And then these intruders break in, and the suspense and tension ride goes on from there. And I do think that this movie is really, really creepy. There's some really good shots of the wife. She's kind of looking around in the house, and she gets into this like area where there's like curtains and stuff, and you see one of the hooded assailants like waiting behind a curtain, and it's a very fantastic shot. And it also, right off the bat, I will say this is a dark film looking wise. It's a very dark, gritty looking, grimy film. Like it could have easily come out in the late 70s. It just has that look and feel to it. And basically, one by one, they're coming and counter these assailants, and we're building up, and all these great, great tension-filled scenes. And we get to the finale that I think is the best part of this movie. And I think it's what saved this movie from being ordinary to extraordinary. And basically, so spoiler alert. I'll hold up the virtual remote. This is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen Them and if you don't want the ending ruined, just turn this off for like 5 minutes and you can tune back in because I am going to talk about the ending here because you can't really talk about this movie without the ending. The husband and wife end up in this kind of like sewer area, and the husband takes a nasty fall and he tells the wife, go on without me. I'll hold the assailants off. And the next thing we see is a child. and we're like, oh shit, like is this going to be like one of those like inbred family type of twist? That's what I originally thought when I saw the film. And the kid says, come this way, come with me, I'll help you guys. And they both think they're moving along. Next thing you know, there's a horde of children. And the twist in this movie is that the assailants are all children. They're all little kids. And I thought that was a genius change in pace because it's always a masked man. It's always hooded figures that, you know, are preying on women or whatever, or preying on a hopeless family for no reason. You know what I mean? Like that seems like it's always the fucking case in a home invasion film, which I don't have a problem with that. If that's the trope, that's the trope. But I thought, how smart to change that up. How smart to make it children instead, because that's something nobody would ever expect. You never expect that. And the way it's shot, you'd never know that the hooded assailants are children because it's done so quick. It's quick shot, quick shot, quick shot. You never get a good look. It's almost like how Cloverfield shot the monster in Cloverfield. You never get that great look of the monster. It's just quick, quick, quick. And you're able to fill in the rest with your head. And I really, really enjoy that. I think oh wait, I'm sorry, I skipped the comment. I've always said foreign directors are always the best directors. These five directors all did a really, really good job, I have to say. Children of the Corn, yeah, kind of, but I would say more home invasion. I mean, that's more of what I'm saying. Like yes, they did that concept first, but I'm saying with home invasion films, I had never seen the ending twist be, oh, children are the killers. And what I thought was cool is there's this great scene where she gets to the sewer grate and she's trying to reach out. She thinks she sees light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a grate. She can't reach out. She's screaming, and you see traffic go by, and she gets captured. And it's like one of those, you're like, oh man, this is a downbeat. Next scene, you see the last scene of the film, you see this bus pull up. Oh, it's JP. Oh, I didn't know that was you. I didn't fucking know you had a fucking YouTube. What's up, good brother? I didn't fucking know that was you. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? JRJP. I was like, who the motherfucker is this? Your middle name's Ralph. Holy shit. I fucking didn't know what the R stood for. Sorry, my bad. My bad. One of my best friends in the fucking world. I didn't even know it was him. But yeah. Back to where I was. You see this fucking bus pull up, and these kids get on it, and then it says something, Johnny Sack. Johnny Sack. Just JP's favorite Soprano character. But you see this bus pull up, and it says like 5 days later, the children that committed these murders were captured, and they were asked why. And it says they wouldn't play with us. And and the film ends. And I thought that was fucking genius. They wouldn't play with us. So fucking dark as these children come and murder this random vacationing family. And I don't know. I thought the tension was well done. I thought the scares were well done. I thought the film had a dark, gritty, grimy late 70s look to it. And I don't know. I think this is one where if you want a fast paced film, if you want a quick, in and out horror flick, this is a good one to throw on at the French Five. I really, really do like this film. I'm going to come in at about a 7 out of 10. I think it's a solid flick. Definitely of the French Five, the first one that I would consider to be a really, really good movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. I really, really like that one. And coming in at number 3, this one will be a little bit controversial. I think people will probably say, oh, you have this one a little too low. I rewatched it yesterday. I'm just trying to get the IMDb page up because I actually don't own this one. So bear with me here. Let's see. I'm gonna have to type it in old school, the old IMDb, because of course this one I would have the Blu-ray, but of course Region 1's out of print. It is from 2008, coming in at number 3. It is Martyrs, and it is written and directed by Pascal Laguerre. I'm sorry again. I'm not fucking French, but yeah, Martyrs from 2008. I think most people. I asked my good buddy Connor, who has seen 3 of the French Five. He had Martyrs at the number 1 slot, and rightfully so. I mean, Martyrs is of the first, French Five, of these top 3. It is a masterpiece. The top 3 are masterpieces in my opinion. And Martyrs, basically, I could read a plot synopsis here. A young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child leads her and a friend, who is also a victim of child abuse, on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. Yes, Martyrs. This is a disturbing one. This is one that like I wouldn't show to anybody that is not into the genre. And like if you are like an innocent person, I would never watch Martyrs. Like this is like one of the most fucked up movies I've ever seen in my life. And it's not like a lot of people like originally jump to the violence, whereas I think it's the psychology of this movie that scares the shit out of me the most. And it basically like the 10 minutes into the film, I can give this away. I mean, this is because this is some crazy shit. You have this normal like American pie family just sitting eating breakfast laughing like fuck, and the next thing you know, some woman shows up at the door with a fucking double barrel shotgun and blows them all away. And even the kids, there's a daughter, a son, and right then and there, you know the gloves are off. And like when I first watched this movie, I watched this movie back in the day when it came out. And I mean, I'm in like sixth fucking grade watching this shit. I was like, holy shit. They just went there. Just killed two kids like 5 minutes in this movie. So I knew what I was in for right off the bat. But you find out that the girl that did this was tormented by the mother of this family, and she's suffering through really bad PTSD. And that's what I think this movie nails on the head, is the PTSD of someone who grew up in an unhealthy childhood. And basically she was tormented and beaten and all this shit, and one day escaped. And she gets to this orphanage and they take care of her, they're medding her up and stuff like that. But you could see that even though she survived the ordeal, she never really moved on. She never really lived her life. She just, in every day, had to relive that anguish and that agony that she was put through as a child. And that is true horror at its finest, man. A lot of war movies like this tackled the whole PTSD thing, like a Full Metal Jacket in the beginning, where that guy, he just fucking loses his mind because he's called a fat fuck and taunted with jelly donuts. And there's only so long you can push that button until somebody fucking explodes. And Martyrs is a movie where the first half is just like that. It's this woman's slow descent into giving up. And that is really depressing as a viewer, man. It's a very depressing film. And I think that's why I actually have it as the number 3 slot and not in the top 2, not above Inside and High Tension. It's a very depressing film, and that is its job, and it does its job very well. It is a really downbeat film, but I think it's so well done and it's so beautifully shot and so beautifully made that you can't stop watching it. It's one of those movies that I've seen it twice in my life. Like I don't know when the next time I'll rewatch it. It's not one of those movies I say, well, let me go rewatch Martyrs. No, like Martyrs is like you need to prepare yourself to watch Martyrs. You need to fucking like I don't drink, but like if I drank, I'd drink a couple fucking beers or something to get me in a more eased state of mind, because it's a heavy film. It really is a heavy film, and it does not hold back on anything. This director just said, fuck it. I'm going for this. I'm going to talk about this, because I believe he wrote the film when he was in a state of depression himself. And a lot of it's a very personal film to him. So a lot of that oozes out onto the screen. It's very authentic in that way. But my favorite thing about the PTSD stuff is the girl, our lead character, she kills all these people and she doesn't really feel the most remorse. But you see this kind of like creature every now and again, like going after her and stuff and battling her and stuff. And I, at first, when you first see the film, you're like, what is that? It's her inner demons come to life, come to reality. It's her battling her inner demons. And her best friend, who comes after the fact, she sees her fighting, but there's nobody there. She's fighting her inner demons. And that speaks volumes. That is as strong as the genre can get. There's a scene where you see this creature banging this girl's head against the wall. But when you see it through the eyes of the other character, it's just the girl banging her head against the wall. She couldn't move on. She couldn't move on from the horror that she experienced in the early portion of her life. And that is horror done right, in my opinion. I think because it's not just for gratuity, it's for the true horror of people. Some people live through stuff like that. Some people have been through shit like that, get tortured for all that time and then have to go back into civilization. It's not an easy thing to do. Even when you overcome an assailant or you overcome somebody who has tortured you, it'll never make the pain go away. Basically, the pain is eternal, the pain is forever. And that's what I think this director was going for. With Hostel, with a movie like Hostel, which is, I think, one of the inspirations for this movie, which it's not even half as good of a movie. That movie is just for the sake of the agony and the torture. And like, that's not horror, man. That's just bullshit. That's just like whatever. It's honestly like horror pornography, hence the term torture porn. It's just not, it has no meat and potatoes to it. It has no oomph to it. But Martyrs, you feel the pain. That's, I think, the goal of the director. He wanted you to feel the pain and the anguish that this character had gone through. And I thought that was so well tackled in this movie, man. That is like the first half of the movie, and I think it's done so well. And then basically the second half, it's a movie of two halves. The second half is even fucking crazier because you learn that our lead character who survived uh, kills herself, and the other character's like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? She meets this tribe of people that were torturing these people from when this other girl was a kid, and they sit down with her and they're like, listen, like, we're gonna put you through all this stuff. And it's really fucking dark and morbid. Basically, they're this group where they want to make people feel excruciating pain so they can feel all the pain in the world, survive it, and look into the ecstasy of the afterlife, if only for an hour, if only for a minute. Like, so to have somebody have such brutal pain that they go somewhere past death while they're alive. I know, really deep shit, really dark shit, crazy shit, some Hellraiser stuff. Clive Barker. I bet Clive Barker saw this movie and fucking creamed in his jeans. Like, I could only imagine watching the movie fucking Clive Barker. I feel like if Clive Barker if there was a movie he didn't make that was made for his ass, it's this movie. Like, Clive Barker would love this because it does have that Hellraiser theme of excruciating pain and the utmost pleasure. And basically the finale of this film, it's like 30 minutes of this girl just being fucking brutally beat up, tortured, psychologically destroyed. And it's a lot. It's, honest to God, like, I know people that would probably turn this movie off, and rightfully so in some cases. But I will say that the movie does have a point, and that's why it's so damn scary. Our lead character, again, I'm gonna spoil some things here. So again, if you want to watch Martyrs, I've already spoiled some shit, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Our lead character is skinned alive, baby. You gotta say it like Dusty because it's so fucking. He's skinned alive, baby. The American dream. She gets skinned alive and experiences life after death. Even though she's still alive, she experiences the ecstasy of the afterlife. And that, in this movie, the Greek definition is of a martyr, not in the biblical sense, but in the witnessing sense, because the Greek definition is to witness the afterlife. And like, Jesus was the first martyr, even though it's not a biblical saying, if that makes sense to anybody. She witnessed it, and she walks, and this person who runs the whole clinic walks over to her, and she's like, how was it? How was the afterlife? And they mute the sound. We don't hear what she says to the woman. And the next scene you see is like everybody in the club gathered together. They're drinking cocktails, laughing like fuck. And they're like, we're about to hear what this girl experienced. And the headmistress, who was told about it, puts a gun in her mouth, blows her head off. And the film ends. And you're just like, oh my fucking God, what the hell? Because it leaves up to you as a viewer. Was she told that there isn't anything of ecstasy or beauty in the afterlife? Or, maybe she told her once you die, you'll experience the great, experience of pleasure in the afterlife. Maybe that's why she killed herself. There's 100 theories. I've watched videos and people have so many cool theories about this one. And that's the beauty of it. The director himself says there is no definitive answer. It is truly up to you, the viewer. And that's why I love horror movies from time to time, man. Like, I love when they bring up and leave an ending to you. I think that's a really cool thing to do in horror. And in my personal opinion, I thought, I had my own interpretation of it. I think definitely you could go a bunch of different ways with it, but I almost feel like she told her, all the horrible shit you've done will put you so far away from this. And then people will say, oh, that doesn't make sense. why would she kill herself then if she's never going to get there? I see the point. I see the argument. But at the end of the day, the woman doesn't look happy when she's given the answer. She looks very eager before she gets the answer. Once she gets the answer, she looks very depressed and blows her head off. I think it's just fuck, like I'm never going to experience this. What's the point of living? I think she was living to hear that answer. And once she hears that answer, no point anymore. We don't know what the answer is. We never will know what that answer is. But that's why this movie works. It's up to us. We can fill in the blanks with ourselves. So the direction in this film, the acting in this film. I know the two lead actresses in this film were so fucked up. They said they'd never worked with a director again. I think one of the actresses broke several bones in her body working on this film. So no, I guess they had no fucking stunt double. I don't know. It's crazy, crazy, crazy themes of the genre that it decides to tackle and take its gloves off within the first 5 minutes of the film. I respect that. I personally fucking respect that. I think that's a really, really tough thing to do, especially in the times that we live in. But my hat's off. I think Martyrs is a fucking masterpiece. I love Martyrs. I'm going to come in at about a 9 out of 10. I think Martyrs is an absolute masterpiece of a film. Really, really, really dig it. And that comes in at the number 3 slot. So we're at the top 2, ladies and gents. So, which with the reveal of the next one, you'll know my favorite, I guess, by default. But coming in at number 2, it's a movie that I have grown to love. I've shown some friends this. I don't know if JP's still here, but JP, I've actually shown JP this film. I've shown him both these top 2 films. He's like one of my only friends that have shown to this, shown him this movies. And it is from 2000 and I believe 2006 or 2007, 2006, 2007 era-ish. It is Inside, written and directed by they're a tag team director here. Julian Moray and Alexandre Bustillo. Yes, Inside, the unrated Dimension Extreme edition. I love this movie. I think this is what horror movies are all about, and I think this is what horror movies should be in the current day. Like I think this is and apparently they did try to remake this. I have yet to see it, and like I can't imagine them trying to remake this. But I eventually will see it. It has Rachel Nichols, who's fucking hot, and Laura Harring, who's fucking hot. So you got 2 hot bitches in it. So I will watch it even for just for them alone. But Inside, man, Inside is an absolute fucking classic. I love this movie. Basically, I could read the plot synopsis on the back of the DVD for a little change. Get ready for the most gruesome, terrifying, and disturbing film you've ever seen. 4 months after pregnant Sarah loses her husband in a horrific auto accident, she is visited on Christmas Eve by a mysterious mad woman. Alone and desperate to save her unborn child, Sarah fights to stay alive as each of her potential rescuers die at the woman's sadistic hands. With scene after scene of shocking carnage, Inside delivers unbelievably realistic gore that dares you not to look away. Yes, Inside. Oh shit. Oh, JP, is that the one with the baby? Oh no. Yeah, JP knew he was in for it there because my fucking dad, I watched this with my dad in an upstate house. And my dad seriously was like, yo, I think I should commit you to an asylum. Like, you shouldn't watch shit like this. And I was just like, dude, like that, it's a fucking fun movie. Like, I love this shit. But, oh man, where do I start with this movie? First off the bat, and like I was saying in the intro, the atmosphere. The atmosphere of this movie is why I love it the most. I love the scenes towards the beginning of just this woman kind of waiting, watching TV, drinking wine in the middle of the night. And you see the intruder on the outside smoking a cigarette, kind of looking in, peering in, just almost like The Shape, the original Halloween, how Michael Myers is always somewhere in the background behind if you look close enough. And that's what they do with this movie. And right off the bat, it sucks you in because of that. It's so well done and tension filled that you're like, holy shit, like what the hell is this building to? And eventually my gal breaks in and all fucking hell breaks loose. You have so much gore in this film, you can practically fucking taste it. It is so gory and so much fucking fun. There's a scene where this girl's hiding in the bathroom and her mother of all people comes over and the girl mistakes her mother for the killer, the intruder, if you will, and she stabs her own mother in the neck with a knife and like her mother's jugular vein and bleeds out. She kills her own mom. And I'm just like, holy shit. Like when I first, I was like, dude, you just killed her own mom by accident. Like, that's pretty fucking horrific. Something that I'd never think to put in a film. But they do it here and it's done so fucking effectively where I'm just like, dude, wow. Like, where the fuck did that come from? And it's very brutal. It's very fucking mean spirited. It's the entire movie is like a long fight. You know, the battle for what in the beginning we don't know. We don't know what they're battling over. Although Mr. JP did call the twist. He did call it. That is his specialty. He even called fucking twist for this movie somehow. Which I don't know how he did it, but he did it. Because that movie I never fucking saw the twist coming. This one you kind of could figure it out about 30 minutes in. You pretty much know what's going on. But basically, what you find out is the intruder is after this pregnant woman's child. And you find out that the other person in the car wreck in the opening was this intruder, and she, coincidentally, was also pregnant and loses her child in the car wreck. So she feels, I'm entitled to this baby. I'm fucking entitled. I'm going to take that son of a bitch away from you. And my good buddy Kyle recently rewatched this, and I know Kyle is fucking funny people. He called me on the phone after he watched this. He was like, bro, I don't care what anybody says. I know she was a villain, but she deserved that baby. And I started cracking up. I was like, yo, Kyle, I love you, man. He's like, she fucking, all the shit she goes through in this. Like, he's so right, though. Like, she really does deserve, you kind of side with her at the end of it. You're just like, damn, like, this is one tough son of a bitch. And the all the fucking shit that goes on in this movie. There's a scene where the intruder, she likes to smoke cigarettes and she's smoking. She smokes cigarettes and this lady sprays like cooking spray in her face or something like that, and it fucking just burns the lady's face alive. But she keeps coming, man. Like she's deformed for life. All her fucking hair. Holy shit! Like it is fucked up, but it just keeps going. Like it's one of those movies that the tension just keeps going, and it's entertaining and it's gory and it's one of those. It's splattastic. It's just fucking splattastic. I love this goddamn movie. She had that look in her eye, bro. Yo, JP knows. JP knows. He knows. All right. He don't have to watch horror movies. He knows where they're going. All right. He knows. Truman Show too, which was funny. He was like, "Yo, that neighbor's sus, man." That's fucking funny. But yeah, I have a ball with this movie. I think the directors did such a good job. I think that it is a crying shame that they were not given the job in America to remake the original Halloween, because this movie does what the original Halloween does at its core, and that is the atmosphere, the suspense, the tension, and all the creep factor is so much like the original Halloween. And that's why I've always loved Inside. I think it's a great movie to watch. If you're looking for a gory, fun time of the French Five, this is definitely the gory, fun time to watch. It's very opposite of a movie like Martyrs, whereas Martyrs on it as a whole is probably a better movie than this because of the themes it is trying to tackle. This movie is far more entertaining. And it's not depressing like Martyrs. Martyrs is depressing. Martyrs is one of the great movies ever that you really only need to watch once. Like I rewatched it yesterday and I was just like, yeah, I don't have a desire to rewatch this again. Like it's so fucking disturbing that it's too much. Whereas this, I could watch this at any time. I could fucking be eating a pizza watching this, which is fucked up to say if you know how much gore is in this film. But it's fun. It's just I don't know. I kind of look at it tongue in cheek, but at the same time, it's very scary. It's very atmospheric. Very well done. I really like Inside. I think this is a fucking splattastic movie. I'm going to come in at the rifled 9.5 out of 10 for Inside. Absolutely love this one. It is definitely one of my favorite French horror films. Definitely one of the best of the French Five. I know my good buddy Mood616, another YouTuber, this is his favorite of the French Five. And I don't think you can go wrong with this flick. I love Inside. Awesome flick. And that brings me to number one. That brings me to the Holy Grail of the French Five, my favorites. I love this movie, and I've actually, which I'm happy JP is watching right now because we actually did a show. We talked about this one for 30 minutes, so I don't know how long I'll spend on this, but this is my favorite of the French Five, and it is none other than Alexandre Aja's High Tension, aka Switchblade Romance. I know that is the alternate title, or Hot Tension, if you will. Um, Again, I told the story on that show. I told the story of the intro. This was the movie that got me into French extreme horror when I was a kid. Rented this in the old video store, and I just fell in love with it from the word go. I thought it was everything that horror should be, because the title is perfect. It is high tension from beginning, middle to end. It is so well done. I could read a plot synopsis. Marie and Alex are classmates and best friends, hoping to prepare for their college exams in peace and quiet. They decide to spend a weekend in the country at Alexa's parents' scheduled farmhouse. Scheduled, secluded. Sorry, Jesus Christ, that's classic Ronnie right there. But in the dead of night, a stranger knocks on the front door, and with the first swing of the switchblade, the girl's idyllic weekend turns into an endless night of horror. High fucking tension. Yes, it is everything the title says. I adore this film. Cecile de France is the lead. Alex, she does a wonderful job as the lead. I think the soundtrack in this movie is fantastic. They have, of course, the song "Newborn" by Muse. Always thought that was a badass song. Of course, Alexandre Aja. This was his movie that really got him noticed in America, and he went on to get the jobs to remake The Hills Have Eyes. He got the Mirrors remake, the Piranha remake. It's a shame because he made this fucking movie, which is original and everything I think the genre should be. And America hired him. Basically, we're like, you're the remake guy. We want you to make High Tension, but under what somebody else did 30 years ago. So Hills Have Eyes remake has a lot of this type of violence in it and suspense in it. And that's why I think the Hills Have Eyes remake is a very well done remake. But I just think it's so lousy when we could have gotten more original content from this guy, because this was effort number one. This was his first fucking ball game. Who knows what else he could have brought to the table? And it's such a damn shame to me, because really, since he's come to America, all he's really been able to do is the remakes. And he did make Crawl last year, which I thought was a really fun horror movie. And I believe Quentin Tarantino noted that as the best film of last year, which is fucking incredible. When Quentin Tarantino says your movie is the best of the year, you're doing something right. So I really enjoyed Crawl. I had that upstairs on Blu-ray. Really enjoyed that. Picked it up on Best Buy for like $7. Really, really fun fucking flick. And another one, quick paced, short movie, entertaining from beginning to end. Absolutely, really love Crawl. But yeah, man, it's such a damn shame, because this movie I think is horror perfection. I fucking love this movie. Um, the psychology of it, the just running through scenes of this. The scene that always gets to me is the gas station scene, where Alex hides in the back of this killer's truck, and she assures Marie, "I'm gonna get you out of this. Like I promise, I'm gonna get you out of this." And the entire sequence from her getting out of the trunk and slowly trying to walk alongside the tires and beat the gas pump to getting to $20 and getting inside, and the way Aja uses sound to build that tension is so well done. And the entire time, in the back of the killer's mind, you almost feel like he knows she's there, but he doesn't know quite where. And that's why it's so damn terrifying. And she's a smart horror character at the end of the day. Like JP was saying this on the show, what we did, she does everything right. She made the bed. She cleaned the sink out. She did this, that, and the other thing. She's very smart and intelligent, and that's why you root for her. She's not one of those hard characters where you go, "Oh, you dumb bitch! Like do this, that, or the other thing." She's a fighter, and she comes right at this killer. And man, there's a fun barbed wire 2x4 scene, Mick Foley style, where she beats the fuck out of this guy. And there's a scene where he baits her in with putting a flashlight on this little string and like turning it so it looks like he's looking in the woods with it. And she sees it and she's like, "Oh shit." Bam, she gets blindsided. Really, really good stuff. It's the ultimate cat and mouse game. And that's why I love this movie. I think it's so damn entertaining. The soundtrack, the psychology, the fucked up nature in it, the gore. Of all of these movies, in my humble opinion, it is the most grand. Like if you want the best one for gore, it's Inside. If you want the best one for themes, motifs, messages, it's Martyrs. If you want one for the home invasion suspense, you're going with them. If you want the shittiest one, it's Frontiers. But no disrespect to Frontiers. But if you want the most grand that has all of that in its bundle, I think you go for this one, personally. Um, of course, the ending is very controversial. I know so many diehard horror fans that hate this movie based on the ending alone, and it is what it is. I personally always liked the ending. I don't get the hate, but it is what it is. It's fine. Like, I know a lot of people say it's forced. Is it forced? Probably yes, but I don't think it hurts the film. I actually really like it, and that's why it becomes a switchblade romance, if you will. And I don't know, you get some gory lesbian tongue action. I can't say I like, as a straight male, I can't say that I didn't enjoy that, you know. And man, like some of the crazy when she does use this saw on this fucking random guy who pulls up in a car, it's gory as hell, man. And I think it's a fun time. And I just love the final shot of this movie where they play the Newborn Muse song as we fade to black and you see Alex is sitting in a mental ward and, oh, can she see me? No, Alex turns right at her and reaches out. She'll always see you. And you hear that faint sound in the background throughout this whole movie. I won't let anybody come between us anymore. It's a romance. It's a switchblade romance. It is the darkest, deepest, goriest romance you can get. And I love it. I love that. I think it was a really smart direction to take a movie like this. I think it has everything that any horror film should have, and I think out of these French ones, it is definitely the most grand of them all. I'm going to come in again, same rating as I gave Inside. I'm coming in at a 9.5 out of 10. Absolutely adore High Tension. I think it's everything that horror film should be. Really, really enjoy this one. So if you're not seeing High Tension, go see High Tension. So yes, that is the French Five ranked. I can run through this one more time just to recap. Frontiers comes in at number 5. Not a big fan of this movie. About 4 out of 10. Them, which I own, but I don't know where the fuck I have it. About a 7 out of 10. Pretty decent home invasion flick. I really enjoy the twist ending. Murders, easily the most fucked up, easily the one with the most to say, and I think in a lot of ways it's arguably the best one. Definitely a masterpiece in its own right. Came out at a 9. Inside, fucking great tension, suspense, and absolute gore. Love this movie. 9.5, and of course, High Tension comes in at 9.5 as well. My favorite of the French Five. So that is going to be it for the show today. It was so fun to get back after fucking, the hiatus. I'm sorry. Fucking appendix problems and, all sorts of Corona bullshit going on. It's been a rough few times, weeks and shit. And I am all cooked up in the house, to be honest with you. But it's always nice to throw some horror opinions out that, man. It is what it is. I moving past it, and I'm hopefully, this Corona shit blows over so we can all get back to real life again. But in the meantime, it's not bad to watch some French motherfuckers bleeding, suspense, tension, all that good shit we love in film. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, wrong place, wrong time. Damn right. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you watching, JP. Much respect to you, man. But yeah, I'm gonna call this a day. I actually am going to do a show tomorrow with my good buddy Gideon. We're gonna do like just an impromptu show, just talking horror because he's one of my good horror friends. You can subscribe to his channel, Blood Brown Productions. He's a really, really good guy. So we will be back tomorrow on the Graveyard. Double duty, babe. But thank you all for watching and supporting and liking and whatever. I very much appreciate it. Too sweet. Have a great rest of the day. And peace out, everybody.